Birthdays were never supposed to feel dangerous. They were supposed to be about cake, laughter, and the comfortable warmth of family. But that night, as the bass thrummed through the floorboards of my loft apartment and the air buzzed with the chatter of friends and relatives, a different kind of current began to hum. It was a low, insistent thrum, a premonition that settled deep in my gut, tightening with every passing minute. The room was full of people, a vibrant tapestry of familiar faces, yet all I could hear was the frantic rhythm of my own heartbeat, a drum solo against the backdrop of celebration. Then the doorbell chimed, a small, innocent sound that sliced through the festive din. And when she walked in, everything changed. My cousin's smile wasn't innocent. It was a dangerous curve, carrying the weight of every unspoken memory, every stolen glance we'd both pretended not to notice. One look, one smile, and I knew the line we'd drawn years ago, the one that separated family from something far more complicated, was about to disappear. If you've ever felt a forbidden pull that threatens to unravel your entire world, then you know this feeling. Hit that subscribe button right now and join me as we navigate the treacherous waters of a secret that refuses to stay hidden. You won't want to miss a single chapter of this story. My name is Asher, and tonight I turned 30. 30. It felt like a milestone, a marker of adulthood, of having my life somewhat figured out. I was a software engineer, specializing in AI development, a field that demanded logic, precision, and a clear understanding of boundaries. My loft apartment in the bustling West Loop of Chicago was a testament to my organized life, sleek, modern, with panoramic views of the city skyline. I had a good career, a solid group of friends, and a close relationship with my sister, Maya, who was 2 years younger and my confidant. My life was, by all accounts, stable, predictable, and devoid of unnecessary drama, or so I thought. The party was in full swing. Maya had outdone herself, transforming my minimalist space into a vibrant celebration. Fairy lights crisscrossed the ceiling. A DJ spun a mix of indie and classic rock, and the aroma of good food mingled with the scent of craft beer and expensive perfume. My best friend, Finn, was holding court by the bar, regaling a small crowd with one of his notoriously exaggerated stories. My Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, Willow's parents, were chatting animatedly with some of my colleagues, their laughter echoing through the room. It was a perfect birthday, exactly what I had envisioned, a gathering of loved ones, a celebration of the life I had meticulously built. But beneath the surface of my contentment, a subtle current of anxiety had been building all evening. Willow was late. She had RSVP'd, of course, a simple, "can't wait" text that had sent a strange tremor through me when I first read it. I hadn't seen her in over a year, not since a family reunion that had been, for me, a masterclass in polite avoidance. We lived in different cities. She was in New York, pursuing her career as a graphic designer, and our paths rarely crossed. And for that, I was grateful. Because Willow, my cousin, was a complication I had spent years trying to compartmentalize, a dangerous secret buried deep within the carefully constructed walls of my ordered existence. Our story wasn't a typical one. We grew up together, spending summers at our grandparents' lake house, holidays at each other's homes. She was always the vibrant artistic one, full of life and a mischievous glint in her eyes. I was the quiet, observant one, fascinated by her boundless energy. The line between cousin and friend blurred easily in childhood, but somewhere in our late teens, that line began to warp, to stretch into something far more ambiguous, far more dangerous. It started with stolen glances, lingering touches that lasted a fraction of a second too long, conversations that dipped into territories too intimate for cousins. There was an undeniable current between us, an electric tension that hummed beneath the surface of our familial interactions. We never spoke of it, never acknowledged it aloud. It was a silent agreement, a shared secret that we both understood was forbidden, a transgression against the very fabric of our family. We drew a line, unspoken but firm, and we both pretended to stay on our respective sides. But the memory of that unspoken pull, that dangerous spark, had never truly faded. The doorbell chimed again, pulling me from my reverie. Maya, ever the gracious host, was already heading towards the door. I watched, a strange mix of anticipation and dread tightening my chest. And then she was there, Willow. She stood framed in the doorway, a vision in a deep emerald green dress that shimmered under the loft lights, accentuating her slender figure. Her dark, wavy hair, usually pulled back, cascaded around her shoulders, catching the light. Her eyes, the color of warm honey, scanned the room, a soft smile playing on her lips. And then her gaze found mine. The smile widened, a slow, deliberate curve that sent a jolt through me, a shockwave that rattled my carefully constructed composure. It wasn't just a polite, familial smile. It was a smile that held 1,000 unspoken words, a dangerous invitation, a knowing glint that said, "I remember. Do you?" My breath hitched. The music, the laughter, the entire bustling party faded into a distant hum. All I could see was her. All I could feel was the sudden, overwhelming rush of memories, a torrent of emotions I had painstakingly buried. The way her eyes crinkled when she truly laughed, the subtle curve of her neck, the familiar tilt of her head, it was all there, vivid and immediate, as if no time had passed at all. Maya greeted her with a warm hug, pulling her into the apartment. Willow exchanged pleasantries with Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, then with Finn, who gave her a boisterous welcome. All the while her eyes kept flicking back to me, a silent conversation passing between us across the crowded room. I forced myself to move, to greet other guests, to pretend that my world hadn't just tilted on its axis. But every step felt heavy. Every word I spoke felt hollow. My gaze kept drifting back to her, drawn by an invisible, irresistible force. She was my kryptonite, the one person who could effortlessly dismantle my carefully constructed composure, leaving me vulnerable and exposed. If you're feeling the electric tension of this forbidden reunion, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell these complex human stories. Finally, she made her way towards me, a graceful glide through the throng of people. My palms felt suddenly damp, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Happy birthday, Asher," she said, her voice a soft melody, closer now, sending a shiver down my spine. She reached out, her hands resting lightly on my shoulders as she leaned in for a hug. The scent of her perfume, something floral and subtly spicy, uniquely hers, enveloped me, a potent memory made tangible. Her cheek brushed mine, her hair tickled my ear, and for a fleeting moment, her body pressed against mine. It was a simple, familial hug, yet it felt charged, electric, a silent acknowledgement of the dangerous current that still pulsed between us. "Thanks, Willow," I managed, my voice a little rougher than I intended. I pulled back perhaps a fraction of a second too slowly, my hands lingering on her arms. Her eyes, warm and knowing, met mine, and in their depths I saw the same flicker of recognition, the same undeniable pull, the same quiet burn that said we both remembered exactly how it felt to fall. 30, huh? She teased, her smile still playing on her lips. "You're officially old. And you're officially late," I countered, trying to inject some levity into the charged atmosphere. She laughed, a bright, melodic sound that resonated through the room, and for a moment the tension eased. Blame the Chicago traffic and finding the perfect gift, of course. She gestured to a small, elegantly wrapped package in her hand. "You didn't have to get me anything," I said, taking the gift. "Of course I did," she replied, her eyes sparkling. "It's your big 3-0. Besides, I know how much you appreciate unique things." Her gaze held mine, a subtle emphasis on the word unique, a silent reminder of the unique, unspoken bond we shared. We talked for a while, catching up on surface-level details, her work in New York, my latest projects, family news. But beneath the polite conversation, an unspoken dialogue hummed, a constant awareness of each other, of the history that bound us. I found myself acutely aware of her every movement, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the subtle shift in her weight, the expressive gestures of her hands as she spoke. It was as if a part of my brain, long dormant, had suddenly reawakened, hyper-aware of her presence. Finn, my best friend, eventually joined us, his usual boisterous self. "Willow, good to see you. Ash has been moping all night, waiting for his favorite cousin." He clapped me on the back, oblivious to the subtle tension that had just been building between us. Willow chuckled, her eyes darting to mine, a mischievous glint in their depths. "Moping, Asher? I thought you were just contemplating the existential dread of turning 30. "Something like that," I mumbled, feeling a faint blush creep up my neck. Finn, bless his oblivious heart, was a welcome distraction, breaking the intense bubble that had formed around Willow and me. As the night wore on, the party grew louder, more boisterous. I found myself drifting through conversations, my attention constantly pulled back to Willow. She was a magnet, drawing my gaze across the room, even when I tried to focus on other things. I watched her laugh with Maya, chat with Aunt Clara, and even engage in a lively debate with one of my more opinionated colleagues. She was in her element, radiating confidence and charm, effortlessly captivating everyone around her. A pang of something akin to jealousy, sharp and unexpected, pierced through me as I watched her. It wasn't just the forbidden attraction, it was the realization that she was still capable of stirring such profound emotions within me, emotions I had convinced myself were long gone. The carefully constructed walls of my ordered life, which had seemed so impenetrable, now felt like crumbling ruins. Later, as the party began to wind down and some guests started to leave, I found myself standing alone by the window, looking out at the glittering city lights. The air was cooler now, carrying the faint scent of rain. I felt a presence beside me. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" Willow's voice was soft, close. "Yeah," I replied, my gaze still fixed on the cityscape but my awareness entirely on her. "It is." "So," she began, her voice dropping to a low, intimate tone, "did you ever wonder, what if?" My heart skipped a beat. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning, a direct challenge to the line we had drawn years ago. This was it. This was the moment the unspoken became spoken, the forbidden became dangerously real. I turned to face her, my eyes searching hers in the dim light. Her smile was gone, replaced by an expression of profound vulnerability, a raw honesty that disarmed me completely. The mischievous glint was still there, but now it was tempered with a deep, unsettling seriousness. "Willow," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "We can't." "Can't we?" she countered, her gaze unwavering, her eyes holding mine with an intensity that made my breath catch in my throat. "Or do we just pretend we can't?" The city lights outside, usually a source of calm inspiration, now seemed to pulse with a restless energy, mirroring the turmoil within me. The rain began to fall, a soft patter against the window pane, a gentle rhythm against the frantic beat of my heart. This was my birthday, a day meant for celebration, for looking forward. But here I was, standing on the precipice of a past that refused to stay buried, a forbidden attraction that threatened to consume me entirely. And in that moment I knew with a chilling certainty that my life and the carefully ordered world I had built were about to be irrevocably altered. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with emotional landmines, and I knew with a terrifying clarity that the dangerous smile of my cousin had indeed changed everything, forever. "Willow," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "We can't." "Can't we?" she countered, her gaze unwavering, her eyes holding mine with an intensity that made my breath catch in my throat. "Or do we just pretend we can't?" The city lights outside, usually a source of calm inspiration, now seemed to pulse with a restless energy, mirroring the turmoil within me. The rain began to fall, a soft patter against the window pane, a gentle rhythm against the frantic beat of my heart. This was my birthday, a day meant for celebration, for looking forward. But here I was, standing on the precipice of a past that refused to stay buried, a forbidden attraction that threatened to consume me entirely. And in that moment I knew with a chilling certainty that my life and the carefully ordered world I had built were about to be irrevocably altered. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with emotional landmines, and I knew with a terrifying clarity that the dangerous smile of my cousin had indeed changed everything, forever. The rain outside intensified, a steady drumming against the glass, mirroring the frantic beat of my heart. Willow's question hung in the air between us, a dangerous, intoxicating challenge. Or do we just pretend we can't? Her words were a direct assault on the carefully constructed facade of normalcy I had maintained for years, a brutal honesty that stripped away all pretense. I looked into her eyes, those warm, honey-colored pools that had always held a hint of mischief, but now gleamed with a raw, unsettling seriousness. "Willow," I said again, my voice barely a whisper, "we're cousins." The word felt like a barrier, a cold, hard fact meant to extinguish the dangerous spark that was rapidly igniting between us. She didn't flinch. Instead, she took a small step closer, her gaze unwavering. "I know what we are, Asher, but that doesn't change what we feel, does it?" Her proximity, the soft scent of her perfume, the intensity of her gaze, it was all too much. My carefully ordered world, my logical mind felt utterly overwhelmed. The line we had drawn, the unspoken boundary, was not just blurring, It was dissolving into thin air. Before I could respond, Maya, my sister, appeared beside us, a cheerful smile on her face. "Still deep in conversation, you two. The party's almost over, Asher. Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo are about to head out." The sudden intrusion was a jolt back to reality, a cold splash of water on the burning embers. Willow and I instinctively stepped apart, the unspoken tension between us momentarily masked by forced smiles. "Just catching up," Willow said, her voice remarkably steady, though I noticed a faint flush on her cheeks. "Right," Maya said, her eyes briefly flicking between us, a hint of curiosity in her gaze. "Well, come say goodbye to Mum and Dad." We followed Maya, the moment shattered, the dangerous conversation abruptly cut short. I exchanged polite goodbyes with Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, their cheerful farewells feeling strangely distant. Willow hugged them, promising to call, her demeanor perfectly composed. She was an expert at this, I realized, at navigating the social intricacies of family while harboring a secret world beneath. As they left, Willow turned to me, her eyes holding a silent message. "I should go too," she said, her voice low. "It's getting late. Let me walk you out," I offered, needing a few more moments, needing to understand, needing to somehow regain control of the spiraling situation. We walked through the emptying loft, the lingering scent of celebration now mixed with the crisp night air, filtering in from the open balcony door. The music had been turned down, and only a few close friends remained, chatting quietly. At the door, she turned to face me again. "Asher," she began, her voice soft. I meant what I said. My heart hammered. "I know," I replied, my voice barely audible, "and I don't know what to do with it, Willow." She reached up, her fingers gently touching my cheek, a feather-light touch that sent a jolt through me. "Think about it," she whispered, her eyes holding mine, with an intensity that promised both danger and exhilaration. "Think about what we've always pretended wasn't there." Then, with a small, knowing smile, she leaned in, her lips brushing my cheek in a familial kiss that lingered a fraction of a second too long, a silent promise of something more. And then she was gone, disappearing into the elevator, leaving me standing in the doorway. The scent of her perfume a lingering ghost in the air, and my world irrevocably altered. If you're feeling the electric tension of this forbidden connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell these complex human stories. The next few days were a blur of restless nights and distracted days. Willow's words, her touch, her dangerous smile, they replayed in my mind on an endless loop. My work, usually a source of focus and order, became a struggle. Lines of code blurred. Algorithms seemed to mock my inability to find a logical solution to my emotional dilemma. I tried to bury myself in projects, to find solace in the predictable world of my software, but her presence was a constant unsettling hum beneath the surface. I called Finn, my best friend, for our usual weekly catch-up. He was oblivious to the turmoil raging within me, launching into a story about a disastrous first date. I listened, nodding in the right places, but my mind was miles away, replaying the scene at my birthday party. "Asher, you there, man?" Finn's voice cut through my distraction. "You're completely spaced out. Everything okay?" "Yeah, fine," I lied, the words feeling hollow. "Just a lot on my mind with work." He didn't press, but I knew he sensed something was off. Finn was perceptive, but he also respected my privacy. This was a secret I wasn't ready to share. Not even with him. How could I? How could I explain the dangerous pull towards my own cousin? My sister Maya was a different story. She called a few days later, her voice laced with a subtle curiosity. "So, Asher, Willow seemed particularly happy to see you at the party. You two had quite the intense conversation by the window." My heart clenched. "Just catching up, Maya. We hadn't seen each other in a while." "Uh-huh," she drawled, a knowing tone in her voice. "Right. Because cousins always have that kind of intense whispered conversation at parties. You know, the kind where you both look like you're about to confess a murder." I chuckled, a nervous sound. "Don't be dramatic, Maya. We were just talking about life, work, you know." "Sure, Asher, whatever you say." Her tone was light, but I knew she wasn't entirely convinced. Maya had always been able to read me like an open book, and the unspoken history between Willow and me was a secret she had likely suspected for years. The thought of Maya knowing, of anyone in the family knowing, sent a cold shiver down my spine. The consequences would be devastating. Our family was close-knit, traditional. This kind of transgression was unthinkable, a betrayal of everything we stood for. The shame, the judgment, the potential tearing apart of our family, it was a terrifying prospect. But even the fear couldn't completely extinguish the spark Willow had reignited. The what-if question echoed in my mind, a persistent whisper that challenged my carefully constructed logic. What if we could? What if the forbidden nature of our connection was precisely what made it so intoxicating, so undeniably powerful? A few days later, I received a text from Willow, a simple, innocuous message. "Hey, thinking of you. Hope work isn't too crazy." My heart leaped. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Should I respond? Should I ignore it? Ignoring it felt like a betrayal, a denial of the undeniable. Responding felt like stepping further onto dangerous ground. I typed back, a carefully neutral response. "Hey, thanks. Work's good. You too." Her reply came almost instantly. "Good. Listen, I'm still in town for a few more days. My gallery has a new exhibit opening tomorrow night. Would you want to come? It's pretty low-key." My breath hitched. An invitation. A chance to see her again outside the chaotic environment of my birthday party. My logical mind screamed no. This was a trap. This was a slippery slope. But my heart, that rebellious, illogical organ, pulsed with a desperate longing. "I don't know, Willow," I typed, trying to buy myself time. "I have a lot on my plate." "No pressure," she replied. "Just thought you might appreciate the art, and maybe we could talk. Properly. Properly." The word hung in the air, loaded with meaning. It wasn't just about art. It was about us. It was about the what if. I paced my apartment, the city lights outside my window a blur. My carefully ordered life, my stable career, my predictable routines, they all felt suddenly meaningless in the face of this overwhelming, forbidden pull. I thought of my parents, of Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, of Maya. The potential fallout was immense, catastrophic. But then I thought of Willow's smile, her eyes, her whispered question, and a dangerous thrill shot through me. If you're on the edge of your seat wondering what Asher will do, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us create more compelling stories. The next evening, I found myself standing outside the gallery, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The cool Chicago air did little to calm my nerves. I was dressed in a dark blazer and jeans, trying to project an air of casual confidence, but inside I was a maelstrom of apprehension and anticipation. I pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. The gallery was smaller than I expected, intimate, filled with soft lighting and the hushed murmur of conversation. The walls were adorned with vibrant, abstract pieces, a testament to the raw talent of the artists. And then I saw her, Willow. She was standing by one of the larger canvases, talking to a small group of people, her back to me. She was wearing a sleek, dark jumpsuit, her hair styled in soft waves, and she exuded an effortless elegance that always captivated me. She was in her element, radiating confidence and charm, a true artist surrounded by her craft. As if sensing my presence, she turned, her eyes sweeping the room, our gazes locked. Her smile, slow and knowing, spread across her face, a dangerous curve that sent a jolt through me. This time there was no surprise, no initial shock, only a quiet, undeniable recognition, a shared understanding of the dangerous path we were about to embark on. She excused herself from the group and walked towards me, her movements fluid and graceful. The scent of her perfume, that intoxicating blend of jasmine and spice, enveloped me as she approached. "You came," she said, her voice soft, a hint of triumph in her eyes. "I did," I admitted, my voice a little rough. "The art looked interesting." It was a weak excuse, and we both knew it. She chuckled, a low, melodic sound. "Of course, the art." Her eyes held mine, a silent challenge, a dangerous invitation. "So, what do you think?" "It's powerful," I said, my gaze briefly flicking to a nearby canvas, then back to her. "Intense, like you." Her smile softened, a genuine warmth replacing the earlier mischief. "I'll take that as a compliment." She paused, then her voice dropped to a low whisper. "Asher, I've been thinking about what we talked about the what if." My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the moment of truth, the precipice. "And?" I managed, my voice barely audible. She took another small step closer, her hand reaching out, her fingers gently brushing mine. The contact was electric, sending a jolt of raw desire through me. "And I think I think we owe it to ourselves to find out. Her eyes, warm and knowing, held mine, and in their depths I saw not just the danger, but a profound connection, a shared history, a forbidden future that beckoned with an irresistible pull. The city outside, with its endless possibilities and hidden secrets, seemed to hold its breath waiting for my answer. And I, Asher, standing in that art gallery, surrounded by vibrant expressions of human emotion, knew with a terrifying clarity that the line we had drawn years ago was not just about to disappear, but was about to be deliberately, irrevocably crossed. The dangerous smile of my cousin, the unspoken memories, the undeniable pull, it was all converging, threatening to consume me entirely, to pull me into a beautiful, terrifying chaos I had sworn to avoid. And I knew with a chilling certainty that the path ahead was no longer just uncertain, but fraught with a dangerous, intoxicating possibility that would alter the landscape of my life, forever. "You came," she said, her voice soft, a hint of triumph in her eyes. "I did," I admitted, my voice a little rough. "The art looked interesting." It was a weak excuse, and we both knew it. She chuckled, a low melodic sound. "Of course, the art." Her eyes held mine, a silent challenge, a dangerous invitation. "So what do you think?" "It's powerful," I said, my gaze briefly flicking to a nearby canvas, then back to her. "Intense. Like you." Her smile softened, a genuine warmth replacing the earlier mischief. "I'll take that as a compliment." She paused, then her voice dropped to a low whisper. "Asher, I've been thinking about what we talked about the what if." My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the moment of truth, the precipice. "And?" I managed, my voice barely audible. She took another small step closer, her hand reaching out, her fingers gently brushing mine. The contact was electric, sending a jolt of raw desire through me. "And I think we owe it to ourselves to find out." Her eyes, warm and knowing, held mine, and in their depths, I saw not just the danger, but a profound connection, a shared history, a forbidden future that beckoned with an irresistible pull. The city outside, with its endless possibilities and hidden secrets, seemed to hold its breath, waiting for my answer. And I, Asher, standing in that art gallery, surrounded by vibrant expressions of human emotion, knew with a terrifying clarity that the line we had drawn years ago was not just about to disappear, but was about to be deliberately, irrevocably crossed. The dangerous smile of my cousin, the unspoken memories, the undeniable pull, it was all converging, threatening to consume me entirely, to pull me into a beautiful, terrifying chaos I had sworn to avoid. And I knew with a chilling certainty that the path ahead was no longer just uncertain, but fraught with a dangerous, intoxicating possibility that would alter the landscape of my life forever. The air in the gallery crackled with an unspoken intensity. Willow's words, "I think we owe it to ourselves to find out," hung between us, a dangerous invitation that resonated deep within my soul. My logical mind, the one that thrived on order and predictability, screamed warnings. The consequences, the societal judgment, the potential devastation to our family. It was a terrifying prospect. But my heart, that rebellious, illogical organ, pulsed with a desperate longing, a yearning for the intoxicating chaos that only Willow could bring. I looked at her, truly looked at her, and saw not just my cousin, but the woman who had always held a unique, undeniable power over me. Her eyes, warm and unwavering, held a blend of vulnerability and fierce determination. She wasn't just tempting me. She was offering a shared journey into the unknown, a journey we both knew was forbidden yet undeniably compelling. "Willow," I whispered, my voice barely audible, "this is insane." A faint smile touched her lips. "Maybe. But isn't life a little insane sometimes, Asher? Especially when it comes to things we can't control?" Her words struck a chord. Control. It was something I had always sought, always prided myself on, but with Willow, control had always been an illusion. She was the one variable I could never account for, the one algorithm I could never solve. I took a deep breath, the scent of her perfume filling my lungs, intoxicating my senses. The hum of conversation in the gallery, the soft clinking of glasses, faded into a distant background noise. There was only her and me and the precipice we stood on. "Okay," I said, the word escaping my lips before I could fully process it. "Okay, Willow, let's find out." A spark ignited in her eyes, a flash of triumph mixed with a profound relief. She didn't say anything, just squeezed my hand, her fingers intertwining with mine, a silent pact sealed in the heart of a bustling art gallery. The touch was electric, a confirmation of the dangerous path we had just chosen. We spent the rest of the evening together, talking, laughing, but with a new, unspoken current flowing between us. We discussed the art, our dreams, our fears, but every word, every glance, every casual touch was charged with the weight of our decision. The city outside, with its endless possibilities and hidden secrets, seemed to hold its breath, waiting for our next move. When the gallery closed, we walked out into the cool Chicago night. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflective, mirroring the city lights in a dazzling display. We walked for hours, talking sometimes in hushed tones, sometimes in bursts of excited energy, exploring the contours of this new, forbidden territory. We acknowledged the risks, the potential fallout, the devastating impact on our family. But with each shared word, each lingering touch, the fear seemed to recede, replaced by a dangerous exhilaration, a sense of finally embracing a truth we had both denied for so long. If you're feeling the dangerous thrill of Asher and Willow's decision, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell these complex human stories. The days that followed were a whirlwind of stolen moments and hushed conversations. Willow extended her stay in Chicago, citing inspiration for her art. We met whenever we could, away from the prying eyes of family and mutual friends. Coffee shops in obscure neighborhoods, late-night walks along the lakefront, quiet dinners in dimly lit restaurants. These became our secret sanctuaries. Each encounter deepened the connection, intensified the forbidden pull. We talked about everything, our childhood memories, the unspoken glances, the moments we had almost crossed the line years ago. We confessed our fears, our doubts, and the undeniable longing that had simmered beneath the surface for so long. It was intoxicating, exhilarating, and utterly terrifying. The guilt, however, was a constant companion. Every time I spoke to Maya or Aunt Clara or Uncle Leo, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I was living a double life, a carefully constructed lie that threatened to unravel at any moment. The thought of their reactions, their disappointment, their anger was a heavy burden. One evening I was having dinner with Finn. He was recounting a hilarious story about a disastrous coding bug, but I found myself distracted, my gaze drifting to the window, lost in thought. "Asher, are you even listening?" Finn asked, a playful frown on his face. "You've been completely out of it lately. What's going on? You're not still thinking about that ex-kryptonite, are you?" I forced a laugh. No, just a lot of pressure at work, big project deadlines." Finn narrowed his eyes. "You're a terrible liar, man. Something's up. You're acting like you're hiding something." My heart pounded. Finn was too perceptive, too close. I knew I couldn't keep this secret from him forever, but the thought of confessing, of revealing the forbidden truth, was paralyzing. "It's complicated, Finn," I finally admitted, my voice low. He leaned forward, his expression serious. "Complicated how? You know you can tell me anything, Asher. I'm your best friend." I hesitated, grappling with the words, trying to find a way to articulate the inarticulable. "How do you tell your best friend that you're falling for your cousin, the one person who is unequivocally off limits?" It's about Willow," I finally blurted out, the words tumbling out in a rush. Finn's eyes widened in surprise. "Willow? What about Willow? She's still in town, right? You guys catching up?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for his reaction. "More than catching up, Finn. We're seeing each other romantically." The silence that followed was deafening. Finn stared at me, his mouth slightly agape, his usual jovial expression replaced by one of utter shock and disbelief. You're serious?" he finally managed, his voice barely a whisper. "Asher, she's your cousin. Your cousin." "I know, Finn," I said, my voice raw with a mix of defiance and desperation. "I know it's wrong, I know it's forbidden, but I can't help it. There's something between us, something that's always been there, and we finally decided to explore it." Finn ran a hand through his hair, his face a mask of confusion and concern. "Asher, this is a huge deal. This isn't just complicated. This is going to tear your family apart. Have you thought about Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, about Maya?" "Of course I have," I retorted, my voice rising. "Do you think I haven't thought about the consequences? Do you think I haven't been agonizing over this? But what am I supposed to do, Finn? Pretend it's not there? Pretend I don't feel what I feel?" He sighed, shaking his head. I don't know, man, I honestly don't know. But this is a dangerous game you're playing, a really dangerous game. He paused, his gaze softening slightly. Look, I'm your friend, Asher, and I'll always be here for you. But I'm worried, really worried. His concern, though difficult to hear, was a grounding force. Finn, despite his shock, was still there for me. It was a small comfort in the midst of the emotional storm. If you're feeling the weight of Asher's confession and Finn's reaction, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more compelling stories. The conversation with Finn left me shaken, but also strangely resolute. I knew the risks. I knew the potential fallout. But for the first time in years, I felt truly alive, truly connected to someone in a way that transcended logic and societal norms. Willow and I continued our secret relationship, each stolen moment a precious, dangerous treasure. We explored the city, our hands intertwined beneath restaurant tables, our eyes exchanging silent messages across crowded rooms. We discovered new layers to each other, new depths to our connection. She brought out a spontaneity in me, a willingness to embrace the unknown that I hadn't realized I possessed, and I, in turn, offered her a quiet stability, a grounding presence amidst her artistic whirlwind. But the secrecy, the constant fear of exposure began to take its toll. The furtive glances, the whispered goodbyes, the elaborate excuses. It was exhausting. The joy of our connection was often overshadowed by the anxiety of discovery. One rainy afternoon, we were at a small, secluded cafe, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. The rain lashed against the windows, creating a cozy, intimate atmosphere. We were talking, laughing, our hands clasped across the table when the door chimed. My heart leaped into my throat. Standing in the doorway, shaking the rain from her umbrella, was Maya. Her eyes, usually warm and friendly, swept across the cafe, and then they landed on us. Her smile, which had been bright a moment before, slowly faded, replaced by an expression of utter shock and dawning comprehension. Her gaze flicked from my hand, intertwined with Willow's, to our faces, then back again. A silent, horrified realization dawning in her eyes. The world seemed to stop. The gentle hum of conversation, the clinking of cups, the patter of rain, it all faded into a deafening silence. All I could hear was the frantic pounding of my own heart, a frantic drumbeat against the backdrop of impending disaster. Willow, sensing my sudden stillness, followed my gaze. Her face, which had been alight with laughter, paled instantly as she saw Maya. Her hand, which had been so confidently intertwined with mine, instinctively pulled away, a sudden panicked movement. Maya stood frozen in the doorway, her umbrella dripping onto the polished floor, her eyes wide with disbelief and a profound sense of betrayal. The line, the unspoken boundary, the carefully constructed lie, it had just been irrevocably crossed, not by our choice, but by the cruel hand of fate. And in that single suspended moment, I knew, with a chilling certainty, that the dangerous secret we had so desperately tried to protect was about to explode, tearing apart not just our lives, but the very fabric of our family, forever. The city outside, once a symbol of our hidden world, now seemed to loom, its towering buildings casting long, unforgiving shadows over our exposed secret. The path ahead was no longer just uncertain, but fraught with an inevitable, devastating confrontation that would alter the landscape of our lives forever. The silence in the cafe was deafening, broken only by the relentless drumming of rain against the windows. Maya's gaze, a mixture of shock, hurt, and dawning horror, was fixed on us, burning through the thin veil of our secret. Willow's hand, which had instinctively pulled away from mine, now trembled slightly on the table. My own heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the backdrop of impending disaster. The cozy, intimate atmosphere of the cafe had vanished, replaced by a suffocating tension. "Maya," I managed, my voice a strained whisper, "what are you doing here?" It was a foolish question, a desperate attempt to deflect, to buy time, but the words felt hollow and meaningless even as I spoke them. Maya didn't answer. Her eyes, usually so full of warmth and understanding, were now cold, distant, filled with a profound sense of betrayal. She took a slow, deliberate step into the cafe, her gaze sweeping from my face to Willow's, then back to our hands, which still bore the phantom imprint of our forbidden touch. "What am I doing here?" she finally retorted, her voice low, trembling with suppressed anger. "I was just getting coffee. The real question is, what are you two doing?" Her voice rose slightly, attracting the attention of a few other patrons who quickly averted their gazes, sensing the raw personal drama unfolding. Willow, usually so composed, looked utterly devastated. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and shame. "Maya, please," she began, her voice barely audible. "It's not what you think." "Isn't it?" Maya scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. Her eyes, now glistening with unshed tears, fixed on me. "I knew something was off, Asher. I knew you were hiding something. But this, with Willow, our cousin?" The word cousin was spat out like a curse. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor, the sound jarring in the tense silence. "Maya, let's not do this here, please. Let's go somewhere and talk." "Talk?" she cried, her voice cracking. "What is there to talk about, Asher? I just saw you, holding hands, looking at each other like you're in love. Do you have any idea what this means? What this will do to Mum and Dad? To Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo?" Her words, raw and unfiltered, hit me with the force of a physical blow. The shame, the guilt, the terrifying reality of the situation, it all crashed down on me. I looked at Willow, her face etched with despair, and then back at Maya, her eyes brimming with tears, her expression a mirror of the devastation that was about to engulf our family. "Maya, please," Willow pleaded again, her voice breaking. "We can explain." "Explain what?" Maya shot back, her voice rising in pitch. "Explain how you're betraying our entire family? How you're breaking every unspoken rule? How you're going to shatter everything?" The confrontation was public, painful, and utterly unavoidable. I knew with a chilling certainty that our secret was no longer ours to keep. It had burst into the open, a destructive force that would leave no one untouched. If you're feeling the raw emotion of this family confrontation, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell these complex human stories. The next few days were a blur of intense, agonizing conversations. Maya, heartbroken and furious, refused to keep our secret. She confronted our parents, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief as she revealed what she had witnessed. The news ripped through our family like a wildfire, leaving a trail of shock, confusion, and profound hurt. My parents were devastated. My mother, usually so composed, broke down in tears, unable to comprehend how her son and niece could engage in such a forbidden relationship. My father, a man of quiet strength, was visibly shaken, his face etched with a mixture of anger and profound disappointment. They couldn't understand it, couldn't reconcile the Asher they knew with the man who had seemingly betrayed the very fabric of our family. The most difficult confrontation, however, was with Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo, Willow's parents. The news hit them like a tidal wave. Aunt Clara, usually so vivacious, was reduced to a state of tearful disbelief, her voice barely a whisper as she confronted Willow. Uncle Leo, a man I had always respected and admired, was furious, his face red with rage, his words sharp and cutting. He accused us of disrespecting our family, of bringing shame upon their name, of destroying the trust they had placed in us. Willow, usually so strong and defiant, crumbled under the weight of her parents' disappointment and anger. She tried to explain, to articulate the depth of our connection, the undeniable pull that had existed between us for years, but her words were lost in a storm of hurt and condemnation. I stood by her side, taking my share of the blame, trying to shield her from the full force of their wrath. I explained that it wasn't a fleeting infatuation, but a deep, complex connection that had simmered beneath the surface for years. I tried to make them understand that while we knew it was forbidden, the feelings were real, powerful, and beyond our control. But their pain was too profound, their sense of betrayal too raw to truly hear us. The family was fractured, dinners became tense, silent affairs, phone calls were strained, filled with unspoken accusations. Some relatives sided with our parents, condemning our actions as an unforgivable transgression. Others, more quietly, expressed a reluctant understanding, acknowledging the complexity of human emotions, but still grappling with the societal implications. Finn, my best friend, was a steady presence amidst the chaos. Despite his initial shock and concern, he remained loyal, offering a listening ear and a much-needed dose of reality. "This is going to be tough, Asher," he warned, his voice serious. "You've got a long road ahead, but if you truly believe in what you have with Willow, then you have to be prepared to fight for it and face the consequences." Maya, after the initial explosion of anger, slowly began to soften. She saw the genuine pain in our eyes, the depth of our connection, and the immense pressure we were under. One evening she came to my apartment, her eyes still red from crying, but her voice calmer. "I still don't understand it, Asher," she confessed, her voice soft. "And I don't know if I ever will, but I see how much you two care about each other. And I know you're not doing this to hurt anyone." She paused, taking a deep breath. "It's going to be hard, really hard. But I'm your sister, and I'll always be here for you, both of you." Her words were a lifeline, a glimmer of hope in the suffocating darkness. Maya's reluctant acceptance, her willingness to stand by us, meant the world. It was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming judgment, there was still love, still understanding, still a chance for healing. If you're finding strength in the support Asher and Willow are receiving, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more compelling stories. Willow and I, despite the immense pressure and the emotional toll, clung to each other. The external condemnation only seemed to strengthen our bond, forging a deeper, more resilient connection. We found solace in each other's presence, in the shared understanding of our unique, forbidden love. We knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but we were determined to face them together. We decided to move away from Chicago, to start fresh in a new city, where we could build a life free from the constant scrutiny and judgment of our family. It was a difficult decision, a painful severance from the familiar, but it felt necessary for our survival, for the chance to truly be ourselves. We chose Portland, Oregon, a city known for its vibrant art scene, its progressive culture, and its embrace of individuality. It was a place where we hoped to find acceptance, a place where our love, though unconventional, could flourish without the constant weight of societal condemnation. The goodbyes were tearful and difficult. My parents, though still struggling with our choices, offered a hesitant blessing, their love for me ultimately outweighing their disapproval. Aunt Clara and Uncle Leo remained distant, their hurt too profound to easily overcome, but Willow promised to keep in touch, to slowly, patiently, try to mend the fractured relationship. Finn and Maya were there at the airport, their eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and hope. "Just be happy, Asher," Finn said, pulling me into a tight hug. "That's all that matters." "And call me every day," Maya added, her voice thick with emotion as she hugged Willow. "Don't be strangers." As the plane took off, soaring above the glittering skyline of Chicago, I looked out the window, a profound sense of both loss and liberation washing over me. I was leaving behind the city that had been my home, the family that had shaped me, the predictable life I had so carefully constructed. But I was also embarking on a new journey, a new chapter, with the woman I loved, the woman who had always been my dangerous, intoxicating kryptonite. Life in Portland was a new beginning. We found a small, cozy apartment, filled it with Willow's vibrant art and my minimalist designs, a beautiful blend of our contrasting styles. We built new friendships, found new communities, and slowly, painstakingly began to heal. Willow thrived in the artistic environment, her work gaining recognition and acclaim. I found a new role in a tech startup, applying my skills to innovative projects, embracing a more flexible, less rigid approach to my career. The challenges were still there. The occasional pang of guilt, the lingering sadness of our fractured family relationships, the societal whispers that sometimes reached us. But we faced them together, our bond strengthened by the adversity we had overcome. We learned to lean on each other, to find strength in our shared vulnerability, to navigate the complexities of our love with honesty and unwavering commitment. Years passed. Our love, once a dangerous secret, became a quiet, enduring truth. We learned that love in its purest form transcends labels, defies expectations, and sometimes demands the courage to challenge the very fabric of what is considered normal. We never fully escaped the consequences of our choices, but we learned to live with them, to carry the weight of our past with grace and resilience. On a quiet evening, years after that fateful birthday, Willow and I sat on our balcony, looking out at the lush green landscape of Portland, the distant city lights twinkling like scattered diamonds. Her hand was in mine, her head resting on my shoulder. "Remember that birthday, Asher?" she whispered, her voice soft. "The smile that said everything we weren't supposed to do?" I chuckled, a warm, contented sound. "I remember. It was the night my world turned upside down." She squeezed my hand, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I looked at her, at the woman who had once been my forbidden cousin, now my partner, my confidant, my greatest love. Her smile, once dangerous, was now a source of profound comfort, a testament to a love that had defied all odds, overcome immense obstacles, and ultimately transformed us both forever. The line we had drawn years ago had indeed disappeared, replaced by a boundless, beautiful connection that was uniquely ours, a testament to the power of a love that dared to be different. And that concludes our story. If you were as moved by Asher and Willow's journey through forbidden love, family conflict, and the courage to forge their own path, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more compelling and realistic stories like this one. Your support means the world and helps us create more content you'll love. Thank you for watching.